Hello and welcome back to our daily broadcast in English. Let's start with today's headlines.
Prime Minister concludes visit to Netherlands. Investment in rural areas hits 290 trillion Vietnamese dong. Lifelong learning responded in Hanoi. Typhoon Nalgae, it's for Vietnam.
Prime Minister Nguyen and his entourage on October 2nd left The Hague, successfully concluding his 5-day official visit to the Netherlands at the invitation of his Dutch counterpart Mark Rutte.
Earlier on September 30th, Prime Minister Dũng met with Dutch Crown Prince Willem-Alexander and the country's strategic consultants and Rotterdam Mayor Ahmed Abu Taleb. He made a tour of sea dikes protecting Rotterdam. The Prime Minister visited the Dutch largest shipbuilding group Damen, which is also one of the world's leading groups in building specialized and high-speed ships, with annual turnover of over $1.5 billion. Damen Shipyards Group has operated in Vietnam since 1994 and helped Vietnam make some 100 ships to serve domestic demand and export activities. Prime Minister Dũng hailed the cooperation between Damen Group and Vietnamese shipbuilders. He said the Vietnamese government considers the shipbuilding industry an important part in its socio-economic strategic development plan. On October 1st in The Hague, Vietnam and the Netherlands issued a joint statement affirming to increase cooperation in 5 prioritized areas, including climate change resilience and water resource management, agriculture, seaborne economy, energy and logistics.
Leaving the Netherlands, Prime Minister Nguyen and his spouse fly to Tashkent to begin their 3-day official visit to Uzbekistan. The visit aims to bolster traditional friendship as well as wide-ranging cooperation, especially oil and gas linkages between the two countries. Moving to other news, the 13th National Assembly Standing Committee on October 1st closed its second sessions in Hanoi after 6 days of working.
The legislators made recommendations to 7 bills, namely the cryptography law, advertising law, the law on price management, the law on legal dissemination and education, the law on judicial verification, the law on tertiary education, and the law on prevention and control of harmful effects of tobacco. They also discussed government's land use schemes for 2011 and 2015 and 2011 and 2020. At the session, the implementation of socio-economic development plan and state budget estimates for 2011 was reviewed, and orientations, tasks, plans and state budget estimates and allocation for 2012 were talked. The government's socio-economic development plan, the national target program, and the use of government bonds from now until 2015 were also discussed. In analyzing the government report on the socio-economic development plan for the next 5 years, National Assembly Chairman Nguyen proposed compiling agencies' outlined general targets and development orientations before working out specific targets in socio-economics, defense, security, and foreign affairs. He asked for due attention to be paid to branch and labor restructuring to raise the percentage of rural workers in all sectors and services.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has approved a $760,000 project designed to improve clean water and sanitation conditions in rural areas in Vietnam.
The Singaporean non-governmental organization Lian AID will contribute $633,800 in non-refundable aid to the project, while the rest will be shouldered by the Vietnamese side. Carried out from 2011 to 2014, the project aims to improve health and living conditions for rural residents, especially those in flooded and salt-intruded areas in the Mekong Delta region, by providing clean water and sanitation technologies. Within the framework of the project, training courses, seminars and fact-finding trips both in and outside the country will be organized for local officials. Established in 2006, Lien AID is a partnership between the Lien Foundation and Nanyang Technological University to advance the provision of clean water and sanitation for the benefit of communities in Asia.
Continue with more good news on rural areas. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development reported that investments in agriculture and rural development in 2009-2011 reached 290 trillion Vietnam dong, accounting for 52% of the total development investment sourced from the state budget and government bonds.
The sum earmarked for the production of agriculture, forestry and fishery accounted for almost 106 trillion Vietnam dongs, equal to 37% of the total investment capital. By the end of 2010, a total of 6,770 markets were built in rural areas, and the number of households connected to the national grid reached 95.4%. Meanwhile, 70% of communes in remote and isolated areas now have public internet access places, and 16,000 post offices are providing services for local people.
Vice State President Nguyen on October the 2nd launched a lifelong learning responding week in Hanoi. The event, co-organized by the Ministry of Education and Training and the United Nations, delivers a message: lifelong learning, key to every success.
Addressing the launch, Vice President Xuan reiterated that the Vietnamese Party has made education and training and science technology as a top national policy. The sound advocacy has helped create a broad learning environment and gain more investments for education. Authorities at all levels and people need to work together to build a learning society where education opportunities are equal for all. During the week, a workshop to review an irregular education policy, an exhibition on Ho Chi Minh and his lifelong learning career, and a book exhibition will also be held. There will be activities that encourage people of different generations and at various education levels to learn from one another.
Vietnamese traditional musical instrumentalists have joined French saxophonists and dancers to a performance of a contemporary music in Paris to mark the 100th founding anniversary of Hanoi Opera House.
The show took place in Espace Michel Simon Theatre, which shares many similarities in architectural design with Hanoi Opera House. Paris music lovers had to wear 3D glasses to enjoy the unique performance, as it exhibited a terrific blend of modern dances and traditional music. The performance was supported by lighting background images of Long Bien Bridge and flying dragons, a symbol of the past Hanoi.
Moving to weather news with latest information on Nagil typhoon, which has approached Vietnam. The National Center for Hydrometeorological Forecasting said Typhoon Nagil, with a wind speed of 140 km per hour, approached the 8th Sea at 4 a.m. on October the 2nd and will deposit lots of rain in Hanoi and central Vietnam.
Typhoon Nagil will move to the west at a speed of 15 and 20 km per hour in the next 24 hours and make landfall on the Hoàng Sa Paracels archipelagos at 4 a.m. on October 3rd. It will be the 6th to hit Vietnam so far this year. Earlier, Typhoon Nesat wreaked havoc in some northern coastal provinces in Vietnam before weakening into a low pressure on September 30th. No casualties were reported after the typhoon made landfall over the northern region of Quang Ninh and Hai Phong on the afternoon of September 30th, but strong winds and heavy downpours resulted in significant property losses.
Earlier on the morning of October the 1st, Typhoon Nagil struck the Philippines with a wind speed at 195 km per hour, killing one person and causing heavy rain over the Luzon Island, the biggest island of the Philippines.
According to the Philippine Hydrometeorological Forecasting Station, wind speed has reduced to 160 km per hour after sweeping across western Luzon Island. Authorities have sent out thousands of rescuers to support people in the storm-hit areas. Almost all people in the northeast Luzon Island have been evacuated to safe places. However, many areas in Bulacan Prefecture are still inundated, with many households isolated, facing a lack of food and water. Nalgae is the second biggest storm to hit the Philippines in just 1 week, following Nesat, which has left more than 1 million people trapped by earlier storm floods. Typhoon Nesat killed at least 50 people and left 31 missing and more than 1 million others marooned in the Philippines. In China, it destroyed thousands of houses and submerged roads, causing great economic losses and affecting the life of more than 4 million people.
And that comes to the end of our program. We will be back tomorrow with more news. Stay well.